love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz, and I'm here today to review the 1999 road drama, The Straight Story, starring Richard Farnsworth and Sissy Spacek, directed by David Lynch. So this might be the weirdest movie David Lynch has ever done. Okay, let me say that again, really. This might be the weirdest movie that is considered a David Lynch movie. There you go. I got it. Sorry, guys. And the reason why is because I think this is the only film that he has done that doesn't have some kind of grotesqueness, some weirdness, some disturbing elements to it. This is a G-rated movie that was created by Disney, I believe, and it was directed by David Lynch. But when you watch it, I think you start to realize why Lynch was probably the perfect person for this movie. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into the review of The Straight Story, directed by David Lynch. Before that, let's get into the plot. Alvin Straight, played by Richard Farnsworth, is a retired farmer and widower in his 70s, who learns that his distant brother Lyle, played by Harry Dean Stanton, has suffered a stroke and may not recover. Alan's determined to make things right with Lyle while he still can, but his brother lives in Wisconsin, so he decides that he's going to drive from his place in Iowa to Wisconsin to see him. However, there's two problems. One, he's way too old and has poor eyesight, and two, his daughter Rose, played by Sissy Spacek, cannot drive. So he decides to take his lawnmower from his place in Lawrence, Iowa, to Wisconsin to meet him. Honestly, the film on paper sounds kind of weird. An old man drives from Iowa to Wisconsin on a lawnmower? That seems ridiculous. But honestly, this is a film that is tender, sweet, that isn't saccharine in the slightest. It's a movie that really has a warm heart to it. Again, something I would never think I would hear when discussing a David Lynch film. But it's really just a very sweet movie that just gives you this warm feeling inside when you're watching it. And I think the reason why is because the film has an authenticity to it, that while it is a happy film to a certain extent, it's not an overly saccharine film. It's not something that's like, doesn't seem realistic. There's just a lot in this film that will make you smile, even though it's kind of a serious movie. The film is not just about Alvin driving on his lawnmower to go see his brother. There's a lot of things that go on in the film as well that really are interesting when it comes to expanding on who Alvin is as a person and what he went through in his past and why he has the problems with his brother. And just in that end, it tells a very deep, compassionate story that I was really not expecting. But honestly, the film is a beautifully quiet road trip movie about wisdom and regret. The film, when it goes through its paces, he starts to meet different people. He starts to interact with certain types of elements in the movie. And a lot of it is about wisdom and a lot about things that he did in his past that he has regrets about. I think one of the best scenes in the film is a film where he's in a bar with another old man and they discuss things that happened in the war. And these types of scenes, I think, are kind of commonplace when they talk about old people or talk about previous soldiers in a bar. But that scene specifically is particularly effective in knowing the sensitivity of this man who portrays himself as a man's man, a very stubborn man, and someone who is very set in his ways at a time where you're supposed to be very self-sufficient. Speaking of the character of Alvin, what a great performance by Richard Farnsworth in this. He has everything right. The gruffness, the sensitivity in certain scenes, the kindness of it. Like it doesn't feel like a mashup of different types of stereotypes and characters, which these types of movies tend to have. This really feels like a wholly unique character that feels realistic. And I think that's one thing that I really like about this film. It's really just a touching, sweet film that I kind of wish I saw earlier. It's just a fantastic movie. Even as subtle and as quiet as the film is, there's a power to it that I think is incredibly well done. And if you are a David Lynch fan and you have not seen this film, I would definitely say give this a shot. It's not what you're used to from him, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. All right, so here are the footnotes for The Straight Story, and I really got one, and it's this. Is it me, or does Harry Dean Stanton look the exact same in everything he's in? But really, like, he's in it for the last minute or so, and honestly, maybe it's just a distinct look that he has, the way that his face is and everything, but he looks the exact same that he did in Repo Man, in Paris, Texas, in almost every film I've seen him in. It's like, does this guy age? It's like, what is this? Like, I think he's like Paul Rudd in reverse, because Paul Rudd always looks young. he always looks old, but he just looks the same no matter how old he is. So, yeah, that's just something I noticed. Sorry. So overall, I'm going to highly recommend The Straight Story. Man, what a great film. I'm so glad I finally watched this film. A very sweet and tender film that is beautifully shot, but it's of rural America, and it's actually incredibly well done. And I think the performance by Richard Farnsworth is great in this movie. Probably one of my favorite Lynch films. Of course, Mulholland Drive will be my all-time favorite, but this deserves to be up there too. So overall, I highly recommend The Straight Story. It is on Disney Plus. I wasn't expecting it to be on there either, but I think Disney is the one that fronted the money on this, so I guess they own it. So there you go. If you want to check it out on Disney Plus. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. All right, so for Thursday, me and Zero are going to review Easy Rider, directed by Dennis Hopper. Saturday, I'll be reviewing Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, directed by William Shatner. And on Tuesday, I'm going to watch a film that, I'm not going to lie, I don't think I've wanted to ever watch this. When I started choosing films for September, I wanted to do films that reminded me of the fall. And every list I've read chose this film. It's been so long since I've even heard this film. I remember watching commercials for this film when I was younger, and I was always like, that's weird, but I never got to see it, so I'm going to check it out now, and that is The Secret Garden, directed by Agnieszka Holland. I'm curious, and I'm willing to try different things, and I've heard good-ish things way back when I was a kid. So I was kind of curious about this, so I think I'm just going to check this out. Since it's on a bunch of lists about films that remind you of fall, and it was either that or Autumn in New York, which, no, I don't think so. So on Thursday, me and Zero are going to be reviewing Easy Rider, directed by Dennis Hopper. Saturday, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, directed by William Shatner. And Tuesday is The Secret Garden, directed by Agnieszka Holland. I am The Wiz, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.